how's it going, guys? We're out here in the garage. We're gonna do some work on the four-wheeler today. The 2016 King Quad 750. We got some goodies on the bench. A worn ProVantage 2,500 pound winch. The winch mounting plate, also by Warren. The rubber stopper so you don't backwind or pull your winch in too far and bind it up. And then eventually we're going to mount a snowplow on it. And here we have the Moose Utilities plow mount. Over here by the Jeep, we have the Moose Utilities tubes, the plow tubes in this box, and then a 60-inch steel plow, which is in this box. The Jeep's doing great. We've got the battery tender on it because it's been parked for a little while. Again, got the doors and a soft top for the winter. I was hoping to get it out today, but I worked the next 4 nights in a row. So I figured now would be a good time to just get the winch at least on the King Quad. And yeah, we'll do the plow another day. So let's get started. I'll get the tripod. So the great thing about modern ATVs is they're pretty much built, prepped for basically everything. So it's become so commonplace to put winches on ATVs that they come with frame mounted tabs. The front is already open for a fair lead. And there's actually conduit to run the wiring through up to the battery underneath the seat. So just a quick little look in here. Right there where the light is are the frame mounted tabs to mount the winch plate. I shouldn't say frame mounted tabs, they're tabs on the actual frame of the front. And so what you do, there's a bolt for each one of these on both sides, and then there is a U-bolt that goes around the back on this vertical support here, which is where your lower control arm mounts, as you can see there at the bottom. So we'll slide the winch plate in, we'll get the hardware all started, and then we'll, the U-bolts can be kind of tricky to get back in there, but it's not that bad. It's really open here in the front end. There's really no issues getting everything going. So let's get the winch plate put in, and we'll start getting the hardware fastened down, and then we'll snug it all down, and then we bring the winch in. So alright, it is going to be kind of tricky to work around the camera here because I have the tripod directly in front of me. So I'm reaching in from behind. Obviously this is where your fair lead mounts. This is where it mounts to the frame. And then these are where the U-bolts go on the back side. So real easy. Just kind of slide it in here. Probably gonna bump into the camera here. All right, hang on one second. I need both hands. All right, so I got it in with the hardware just loose. Now I got to go ahead and tighten all the hardware, and then you can see we have a nice flat winch plate to mount on. It was really snug getting in there. I think just from drilling out those tabs on the frame kind of created burrs, and you can see there where it's scratched up on my plate. I actually had to kind of wedge it in there a little bit. It wasn't easy, but it was, if that makes sense. Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on with it at first, and then after kind of jamming on it a little bit, I figured it out. So I'll just go ahead and tighten the hardware here. Real simple. probably need a wrench for this, I don't know. Flashlight's dying, that's fine. We need to go with a shallow, not a deep. 7/16. So I wanted to do a quick unboxing here. The only thing I've done so far was opened the books. There's 2 books that are just strictly foreign languages. There's a book for the parts diagram, and there's a book for installation in operation in English, and a book for winching techniques in English. Like I said, the rest, these 2 books here are just foreign languages, the book 2 and extended language. So they give you a fancy little decal. I'll probably not do anything with that. And in the main box here, this is wiring and looks like mounting. Yeah, wiring and mounting. The hook and strap, the fair lead. It has its own winch plate, which was not compatible with my ATV. As you can see, there's no sides to mount to the tabs. So this, this is just a plate that if you already have a flat area, you could bolt this or whatever you need to do. I guess it would be these 4 bolts to hold the plate maybe, and then these 4 for the winch. I don't know, something like that. But either way, I can't use this plate, so that does nothing for me. Let's see here. Oh, I just opened that. This is the line in, line out, which goes on the handlebar, and all the wiring associated with that. Here's the contactor, which goes under the seat. Wiring, and the winch itself is in this box here. It's so funny seeing a winch this small. The last winch I played with was a 12,000 pound winch that I had on the front of my Jeep. But yeah, so cool, it'll work. Let's go ahead and start getting busy with this now. Alright, so I've cut a lot of this out because I really needed both hands. And obviously it's not complicated. You're just setting the winch in there and then mounting it with bolts. Right now I'm working on finishing the fair lead, which involves an Allen key, an Allen wrench, and a socket. 11/16 socket, and just like an 8mm, yeah, 8mm Allen key, Allen wrench. And fortunately there's a lot of room up under here, so you can get your socket up in there pretty easily. I'm not saying that there's a ton of room, but there's definitely room to work up here. And then once you get it on, oh yeah, there we go. And then you just kind of put it down. the fair lead is gone. As soon as I get the 6 key knocked out here, because I got it wedged. Joy. I got it wedged against the plastic, which is my own fault. There we go. Okay. Bring you over here. Not much to really see from the front. Obviously the fair lead is there. And then the winch is back in there. I got the rubber stopper on so it doesn't get sucked back in, and my hook and the wonderful worn red strap. So obviously one of the first things you need to do when working with anything electrical is disconnect the battery, which I can do before I'm actually thinking about removing the battery, to be completely honest, but I'll disconnect the negative terminal first. Get that taken care of. I just like the idea of removing the battery so I have more room to work with. Alright. So the negative terminal is disconnected. Oh, those are probably 10 millimeter. Maybe 11. Well, yep, they're 10. So on these King quads, they have this battery tie down here, which actually works very well. It's very snug. And then you drop the bolt down through underneath your ATV. And it's currently laying on the skid plate, I can tell you that. I guess I should have went a little slower. That's not the end of the world. Much worse things can happen than dropping a bolt down through. Alright. That's off. Now this is the lead for my battery tender for the trickle charger. A little bit of corrosion. I'll clean that up. Alright. Battery's out. So one of the things we need to look at is where the contactor goes, and that goes right back here in this area behind the toolkit. I'm not crazy about this toolkit. Once I get luggage that mounts to the back, this will obviously get relocated there. It's just cheap plastic, probably cheap tools too. Who knows? So the contactor mounts right about there. I'm going to actually have to make some holes. The newer King quads, they already have holes back here, and then they have rubber stoppers in them. but mine does not, so I'll have to make some holes. Realistically, I'm probably going to use self-tappers. The only reason I say that is because this is not going to go anywhere. Once it's mounted, it can't go anywhere. It's under the seat. So in the event that for some reason a self-tapper were to let loose, this really can't go anywhere. With the seat on, if it bounces up, it can't go anywhere. So I'm not too worried about that. Is it the way you're supposed to do it? No, you're supposed to get underneath, you're supposed to get washers and nuts and do it that way, but it'll be just fine. There's been no issues with anything like that. So, we gotta figure out where the wires go. Blue and yellow go up to the winch. So the best way of doing this truly is starting up here, and I'll come over and show you real quick before I do this. When I said about them having conduit already built in, let's take you out of the tripod. Right here is that conduit. It's just like wire loom. And you just thread your winch wiring down through that, and it comes out in the front wheel well right here behind the radiator. And then you just have your connections on the winch. Piece of cake. One thing that they do recommend, and this is anybody that's fishing wire through anything, is to tape the ends together with some electrical tape, and it helps them go through the conduit a lot better. I don't foresee any issues at all. If I was going to have an issue, I would probably get the coat hanger that I have that's straightened out. It's a metal coat hanger, and just fish it through with that, but there should be no problems at all going through. That's really it. And then we'll start feeding it through. Alright, I think I'm at the end. No, not quite. Just hung up a little bit. Alright, not sure where I'm getting hung up. Try and round that off a little better. I had to be right there. Had to be right at the end. All right, so wiring is done. Now it does look a little bit like a mess in here, but it's actually not that bad if you follow what is what. Okay, this is the battery tender, which I technically don't need, but I have them on everything, my vehicles, lawn tractor, so I always use one of those. You got black and red power wires going to the batteries, orange and blue going down to the winch, and then the wiring for, which is right here, and that is for the remote, the switch, which goes under here and then up to here. So here's my switch. It's not gonna do anything without power, which is good and bad. A lot of guys say if you have issues with your ignition, but you still wanna be able to winch, you need to run it directly to your battery terminal. I instead connected mine to an accessory quick connect underneath this shroud here. There's an orange pre-terminated quick connect there, and that's the power wire for the switch. So if we do power on, fuel injection kicking. All right, so these contactors are pretty loud, but we'll do out and then we'll do in. So it works with the ignition switch on, and we're good to go. So winch is done. Next up is plow tubes, 60-inch blade in the big box, and the plow mount that goes underneath the belly of the ATV, which is over here. We'll do that in another one. I want to work on the truck a little bit, and that'll be that. So thanks for checking in. We'll catch you at the next one. Take care now. Bye-bye.